like at the bank or whatever, where it's oh shit, we're live.
Are we? Are we now?
Yeah, we're live.
It's just setting up right now.
Oh, it says it's now streaming on live on YouTube.
Yeah, and we are now connected. Okay. All right. Well, how's it going, guys?
Yes.
Good, good.
Yeah, not too
Good.
bad. Not too bad.
So thank you for joining us for our regular Wednesday live episode. We have Chris from St. Larry's Pub. Chris, how you doing, man?
Good, good. How are you guys?
Not too
At
bad. Not too
St. Larry's
bad.
Pub.
What's that?
He's at St. Larry's Pub.
Yeah, and currently, as you can see from Chris's background, he's right at St. Larry's right now, right, Chris?
That's right. I made my basement look just like the pub.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Chris, why don't we just get right into it? How did this kind of let's go from the very beginning of what was sort of the protocol for what was happening at first with St. Larry's, and what sort of changed from the beginning to what's happening now.
Yeah, I mean, it all happened really quickly. All I remember, we were up in the SA office just talking about potentially what was happening, and they let us all know that to prepare that for the pub to potentially close for a week or two. And so as soon as I got that word, it was the Friday afternoon. We had a big event happening on the Saturday, which was kind of crazy. So we got the word that the pub was going to have to close down, and we went in there and closed everything, and we basically closed it as if we were closing for a couple weeks. So we threw out everything that we couldn't use or knew that was going to go bad, and then went from there. But obviously it escalated pretty quick, where we weren't able to get back into the pub. We're still not able to get back in the pub. So I mean, the pub's closed down as if we were just on a 2-week holiday. So it was pretty crazy and quick how everything escalated so fastly.
Right.
So what happens in a situation like that where you said that you had to get rid of the food? So like, do you just get rid of the food, the drinks? And then what happens when you come back? Do you have to get all new food, new kegs, new?
Yeah, well, luckily like I said, we knew something was coming. We didn't know if it was going to be as bad as it is. So luckily we had enough time. Like, we had a week notice to run like pretty dry of everything. So I just directed our kitchen manager to that week to just not order anything and just let the fresh stuff run out. So we really didn't throw out too much stuff. I mean, we threw out like a couple things of lettuce. Obviously that wasn't going to last. Some tomatoes, onions. But a lot of the stuff we were able to save and throw in the freezer. So luckily we were okay that way. But going like the beer and stuff, we have, so like I said, we were thinking it was just going to be a 2-week closure. And so we closed the whole bar up like it was going to be the summertime. Even though we knew we thought it was going to be a 2-week period, but we weren't too sure. But yeah, luckily we left everything pretty dry. It's going to be interesting going back in there to see how much beer were in some of the kegs. I know majority of them were pretty empty or pretty empty. But there's still a couple that I'm not too sure about that are full, and obviously those aren't probably going to make it past this quarantine. So it's going to be a little bit difficult. The pub's going to take a little bit of a hit with some of the product, but I know I've been talking with a bunch of the reps as well, and they've been pretty good of coming in and trying or offering to buy back some of the product. So they've been helpful that way.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, like, is there any sort of compensation from the school? Like, and so how does it work with the pub? Like, do you guys have to pay some kind of rent to the facility, like to St. Lawrence or anything, or like how are you affected in that way?
We're not too affected in that way, as far as I know. I mean, we're just going on as like nothing really happened. I mean, obviously we're going to have bills and stuff, but I mean, with this whole process, the school's been really great to us. So we're not paying rent during this whole time, and they've been really great taking care of us to make sure that we're getting through this. As you know, I mean, everyone's affected by this, so they've been great to work with us so that we can come out of this and not be just in the ditches when we're able to open back up.
Yeah, and that's really great, especially since you guys just opened last year, right? Like, it's only been just over a year since you guys been in operation.
Exactly. And we were in a, I mean, the timing wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst. I mean, March was probably is our normally our busiest month that we've noticed with school projects and different things going on and large bookings. But luckily, it kind of happened near the end of the semester where we were winding down anyways. So, I mean, in that sense, if this pandemic would have hit us in June, May or June, it would have been ideal. If there could have been an ideal situation.
I guess it was not
But
for everyone else, because that would have been time to go outside and get things done. You know,
for sure, yeah. But I mean, like if this pandemic hit us in October, then it would have just crushed us. But luckily, like it was the end of our semester, and I mean, we should be fine coming out of this whenever the new normal kicks in.
We got a question from the YouTube chat here. Is there any need of helping disposing of the beer?
Not yet.
Hand?
Not yet, but we'll see when we get back in there, whenever that will be.
Right. So and just kind of going off of that, there would be no plans for any kind of delivery service from St. Larry's Pub, eh? Like there's like you guys are obviously not even allowed back in there. There's no even kind of like plan of operating under this time.
At this time, no, because we can't get in. Nobody can get into the college.
Right.
So the college isn't going to open up just for us to create a delivery service at this point in time. I could see that maybe as they loosen restrictions, but hopefully, I mean, I think when they do loosen restrictions, the college might be one of the last big facilities open because of the magnitude of people that go through that place. So, I mean, we have kind of talked about it, but not in no serious discussions, because we know we can't get into the pub. Until we know we can get into the pub, then we'd entertain that thought. But at this point, it's not an option, unfortunately.
Was it ever an option to do delivery?
You know what? We talked about it a bunch of times. Not so much delivery to the community, more
Delivery
towards
to
like
classrooms, because that's where the money is.
That would be cool, or even residents.
Yeah, just a classroom. Sometimes I get hungry in class, you know?
Yeah, just interrupt a lecture and just, drop off a poutine or two. We've
seen that movie, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Of course.
There's just like the pizza guy's like, I got a pizza for Spicoli. Middle of class.
Imagine. That'd be great.
So what's happening with your employees right now, Chris? Like, is there any sort of benefit help for them, or is it just kind of like the regular CERB and regular Canadian government benefit plans they have going on right now?
Yeah, so what we did, like I said, timing wise, all of our staff was on contract until about the end of April.
Okay.
So what we did is we paid them. We paid them out as if they're finishing their contract. So we averaged out their weekly paychecks, and we just did an average, and then we paid them out for the rest of their contract. We didn't have to do that, but I think, at the Student Association, we're a huge family, and we just wanted to make sure that everyone was taken care of. So what we did, we got that all out to them right away, and then terminated their contract so they could apply for those different fundings that are going on within the province.
Well, that's really great, and that's sort of a bit of a rare probably situation, like with many other pubs around right now. I'm sure aren't really doing the same thing, or unless like what are you hearing from other pubs and other people in the community?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the industry forever, and a lot of my friends are in the industry, and a lot of them lost their jobs. Even the ones that were in high senior management positions, they got laid off with, they could get their jobs back when this is all over. But a lot of them, I mean, that put a sour taste in some of their mouths, because they were, been with a restaurant for 15, 20 years, and then they just let them go without anything, with just relying on government funding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
already pretty precarious in that sense, aren't they? Where it's like there's not a lot of like a lot of money moves through them, but it's not so like deep pockets, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like I used to work on Montana's before this, and I still talk to them all the time, and and they let go every one of their managers except for the general manager, which is understandable because they need somebody kind of there because you never know when this would all of a sudden end or when legislations change. So they've let everyone go, and they started rehiring everyone back last week for takeout. So they're starting to do the whole takeout route, like most restaurants are starting to get on that train.
Right. So, but they haven't hired their full staff back yet? Like they've pretty much just hired a portion of their staff back?
Exactly. Yeah. So from what I understand, they've only been hiring back the cooks and the managers, from what I understand.
Mhm.
Yeah. So people basically to cook, make sure the food gets out, and then the managers are doing all the front of house roles for the time being.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's nobody to sit, no wait staff, right? So no bartenders, no drinks.
Exactly. And I mean, like I've done, my wife and I, we've been going a little bit stir crazy. So it was both our birthdays during this pandemic. So one night we ordered from Red House, and it was crazy. I went to go pick up our food, and I was talking to the owners, and he said, you know what, we get like 5 orders a day, and it's just hitting them so hard.
Really?
And you see it. I'm like, well, who do you got working? He's like, you know what, we can only afford the owners to work.
Really?
So like you see, they're grinding, they're cooking, they're cleaning, they're doing everything just to make sure that they have enough rent for the end of the month.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's like I figured that like maybe there'd be some sort of rent subsidy or leniency, but
Yeah, you hear about it, but I haven't talked to anyone who's actually received any yet, or if benefited anyone in the industry so far.
Yeah. So how are you holding up personally, Chris?
Oh, it's been a roller coaster. At home, we have a newborn. She's 3 months old, and then we got a 2.5-year-old who's potty training right now. So it's been crazy. Yeah, it's interesting, and I'm still doing my pub work at home as much as I can do. So, I mean, finding time, I do a lot of my work in between naps and when the kids go to bed. And
your naps or the kids' naps?
No time for naps for me. But yeah, it's been a roller coaster. But I mean, we're all healthy, so that's all that matters right now. I mean, we just got to keep doing our part, staying away, and then hopefully this all clears up sooner than later, right?
Yeah. So you guys are basically just trying to maintain a schedule right now. I mean, that's what I hear from a lot of families, is that they're just trying to keep on a schedule and keep to a regular routine. And that's probably difficult for you because you have such young children that you got to also work and play babysitter at the same time, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we try a schedule as much as we can, but with a 2.5-year-old, it's he gets bored real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first couple of weeks we had him real busy, and now we're just struggling to find something new to do with him.
Yeah.
And then when it rains, when it rains, it's horrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can't go outside, and they're just rambunctious, and it's fun.
And it's tough too, right? Because you can't set up play dates. It's not like they can go to daycare, right? So it's just you, your wife, and the kids.
Yeah, and he's getting to an age where he doesn't understand, but he's asking questions. So first couple weeks he kept asking about where his friends were and why he can go out. Now this is the new normal to him for now. So he doesn't ask too many questions. He just drives us nuts. But it was definitely hard the first couple of weeks because it's just hard. Like, how do you explain to a 2.5-year-old that he can't see his friends?
Yeah,
he just doesn't understand, right? So it was definitely challenging.
And so are there any kind of online support networks for guys in your situation with young families and whatnot?
We haven't found too many things online. My wife just got something from one of the daycares where they do virtual tours of like zoos and different things like fire stations, police stations. So it's all catered towards young children. We haven't tried that yet. We're waiting until tomorrow and Friday when the weather's supposed to be not so great. But there are things out there that we're slowly starting to find because we're just starting to get desperate with things to do with the kids.
I think everybody is too. I mean, even not just with kids, but just in general. People that may have had a hobby, it's like, well, that hobby's run aground. It's like it's getting to the point now. We've been at this like what, 2 months now, a month and a half, and it's definitely getting to the point where it's like we have to find every day is like the new thing to do, because there's only so much a house has.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, every day's different. Like there's some days I work and I'm, just doing so much and getting excited about next year or whenever the pub's going to open. And then the next day you listen to the news and, cases have spiked and it just drains you. So all the hard work you do, it just, one day could be great. And the next day you can hit a low of just negativity that we hear in the news. Right.
Absolutely. And that's sort of the thing. Like in the first couple weeks, I was so heavy onto the news and looking at the trackers and the numbers and everything. And I just had to stay away from all that. And I think like even just stay, it's important to stay up to date with the news. Obviously, like we have to be, keep our ear to the ground a little bit. But, I can't consume myself too much with it because I think it becomes overload and then it becomes such negativity and it puts me in such a bad place. Right.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So going on a bit of a lighter note, like you're kind of talking about sort of work at the pub. I mean, you guys, again, like you guys have only been in operation for just about a year now. What are some of the accomplishments that you're pretty proud of St. Larry's and what you guys have been able to do for the school?
I think the number one thing is creating the student jobs, and seeing the friendships that are coming out of the pub. From day one, it's interesting. We sat into a room and interviewed probably 50 people that first year or 2 years ago. And none of them knew each other. Maybe a couple would know each other just from, acquaintances from high school or whatever. And then going through this whole year and a half, seeing these students, I mean, a good chunk of them are best friends now. And they're just, they made lifelong friends out of just working at the pub, which was awesome to see. Other than that, a huge accomplishment that I'm proud of is our breakfast program that we do every Monday up in the SA. That one I just loved rolling out, and I love seeing and getting people in the halls talking to me about when's breakfast next, and that one was a good one. And then I also, I loved meeting all the new people as well. I mean, there's the people that you get to meet in the pub, or you get to meet all walks of life, and it's there's never a dull moment down there. So I love that aspect of meeting new people, and just you make friends with people that you wouldn't normally talk with in everyday life.
Yeah, and well, it's kind of nice about that because you see all sorts of students in there, and you see profs in there as well, right? So like you see every level of faculty and every level at St. Lawrence come into the pub, which is kind of nice, and it kind of builds that whole community for the school.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of your favorite events that you guys have done over the past year?
I think my favorite one to date is sex toy bingo.
Nice.
We did that one on the day before Valentine's Day, and it was insane. We knew it was going to be busy and crazy. I didn't think it was going to be that crazy.
Yeah, there was a line out up the stairs. What wasn't there?
Yeah, to the calf, from the pub to the cafeteria. Yeah, it was at one point it was to the calf, and it was just insane. And I remember going to the line after we were at capacity and just telling people, I'm like, guys, listen, like, unfortunately, nobody else is going to be able to come in. Like, we're at capacity, and people we're still waiting. Like,
somebody will leave.
Yeah, exactly. So that one was really cool. Our first game show night when we did Family Feud, that one was really fun. It was just something different that you don't see every day at anywhere really. So that one was really cool. And then I also we did a Diwali festival for the international students, and that was another one that was insane. We must have had 300 international students in the pub for this festival, where the students were showcasing Diwali and different customs and stuff that they did for the festival. And it was insane. I've never seen so many people jumping, dancing around, and there was no alcohol involved. It was just sober people, just so jacked up about their culture. And it was something to see.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, how much impact did you have on the design of the whole pub, or was that sort of left up to everyone else and you were sort of left to manage the place?
Yeah, I mean, I got hired on after everything was designed.
Right.
So everything was designed. The menu was pretty close to being made, and everything was pretty much done before I got hired.
Oh, that's great.
So I got hired on to like I did all of the, ordering of silverware and glassware, and I had to meet up with all the different vendors, the beer, the alcohol. At the time we had a kitchen manager. We met up with all the different food vendors, which there are thousands of them, which you wouldn't believe. I mean, if you want a type of bread, there's about 30 different companies in Canada alone to try one different variety of bread. It was insane. We did.
I have about the bread thing. I have a friend that's gluten free, I guess, gluten intolerant, and he said that the bread from St. Larry's Pub is probably one of the best gluten free breads out there.
I've heard that. I mean, I don't eat obviously gluten free bread because I don't have gluten intolerance, but I've tried it, and it's the buns are pretty good. We had bread, like just white bread, and it's gluten free, and it's unreal. The only thing that's not great is the wraps. They're just like, you look at them funny and they just fall apart.
Yeah.
I might as well just get a knife and a fork at that point.
Yeah, but you know what? The people with the intolerances they know. I mean, every time I would bring out a gluten-free wrap, I'd try to apologize, and they're just like, nah, we're used to it. Here's what it is.
Yeah. And so like, oh, you know what? I lost my train of thought. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
Question from the YouTube channel: favorite menu item that everyone should try when we return to campus?
Ooh, good question. I love the SA panini.
That is pretty good.
Yeah, that's my all-time favorite. I mean, the SA panini of last year is my all-time favorite. The reason I say last year is because the company that we had that made the bread went out of business. Well, they didn't go out of business. They actually just didn't want to be in the bread business anymore, and they had different ventures that they were doing. But it was a sweet bread, and it was just, it was absolutely amazing. It's still good now, but it's last year's one was just, it was my favorite. I used to eat one every day.
Now, what's in the panini?
So well, the bread is massive on its own. There's turkey, bacon, cheese, 2 different types of cheese. There's an avocado spread that we put on there, and then we press it on the panini press, and just it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And who designs the menu?
So originally we had Matt Day from Days on Front. He helped with the design before I was hired on. And he was the brains to our initial menu. And then after that, we did have a kitchen manager, and she tweaked it a little bit. And then since then, myself and my kitchen supervisor, we tweak, change anything, all the newer stuff that goes onto the menu.
That'll be cool if you could do like a sponsor, like a designed by Days on Front or something, because I love Days on Front. That's such a great restaurant.
Yeah, it really is. No, Matt did a great job designing that menu. It's a perfect pub menu. I mean, there's a little bit of everything on there that just kind of pleases everyone.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. Favorite drink. And what is your favorite thing about working at the pub?
Favorite drink would be McKinnon Red Fox.
Oh, that stuff is good.
Yeah, I just love pretty much anything those guys come up with. They, I don't know, I'm not overly adventurous with my beer, but everything they make has a unique taste to it, but it's not over the top strong and too hoppy for me.
I agree with that.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. And then what was the second question?
Sorry. What is your favorite thing about working at the pub?
And like I said, my favorite thing is just the people.
Yeah,
I love the people. I mean, I know most of the professors now. A lot of the students know me by first name. I can go to a table and know exactly what they're getting to order through our regulars. Same with their drinks. Like some professors and students will sit down, and I'll just bring a drink over because I know that's what they're going to get. Sometimes I'll just see them at the door and I can punch in their food because I know they're going to get that every single time. So I just love just the people that I've met there. That's my favorite thing. And like I said, every day is different. With the program starting not all over the map, but September, then you get the trades, some of the trades that start in the new year, and some of the different programs starting in the new year. You always get a new mix of people, and that's definitely my favorite part of working at St. Larry's.
Yeah, so there's not, I mean, like, typically there's no school during the summer months. So what happens to the pub? What happens with you during the off season?
Yeah, so in the summer, I mean, we start slowing down right after, people graduate. Going into last year, it was really busy until about May 2-4 weekend. And then after that, it dropped significantly with, faculty going on vacation. And then obviously the student population is just way down in that time of the year. So in the summer, I normally save my vacation time until July. So I use it all up the first couple of weeks of July. And then we hit the ground running near the end of July with hiring. So we do the post to hire all of our new staff for the new year. I sit down, all the vendors that I meet throughout the year. I sit down with all the new ones that would like to propose new things to our menu and different beers and whatnot. So that takes up most of August. And that's probably one of my favorite times of the year too, to sit down with all these vendors, because they just they come out with all these brand new things that you don't see in different restaurants, which is really fun to do.
Now, so you guys have adjusted from the first year to this second year of adjusting your hours. Is there, once we get back to normal, and I mean, it's who knows what that looks like. Is there any talk about adjusting hours again coming into your third school year of St. Larry's Pub?
We kind of just play it by ear. I mean, the first year we were open till, Monday to Friday, open till 8 p.m. with the exception of pub nights. And we found past 6 o'clock, we just weren't seeing any traffic. We've noticed that, when students were done those late classes, it was in that awkward time of either right after supper or, right before supper. So people would either come to the pub, or they would just, when they're done class, they would just go right home and just eat at home, right? So we found that was difficult. And then, so this year we tried different things. Tuesdays throughout the year, we had sports nights where we had games on. We did paint nights just to see if we can attract a crowd on different nights other than pub nights. And we just didn't see the traction. But I mean, the pub it's different every semester. I mean, you get a group of students that like the needs are different every semester. Like the first year we seen that it was busy between 3 and 4, and then the next semester it'd be busy a different time. So it all depends on the group of students and their and the class schedule as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it something that's that you can find somewhere like across like college pubs, or is that something more like a St. Larry's thing where like the hours and the busyness kind of fluctuate?
Yeah. So when I noticed that, it wasn't too busy past a certain time, I started researching different colleges and their hours. And I reached out to a few of them as well, just to see like their reasoning behind their hours. And a lot of them noticed the exact same thing. They didn't see any business past 4 or 5 o'clock. So once that dinner hour hit, I mean, people were out doing, going back home or just doing other things and not staying on campus. I think it's different as well, wherever the college is located. I mean, we're not in a downtown kind of area. So I think if the pub was downtown, I think it would be busy all like past 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, just because, you can go from the pub to a restaurant, to another bar, to wherever, right? So the location kind of is what slows us down in the later hours, in my opinion.
And weekends, like is that on the table, or is that sort of probably not?
Probably not. We've tried it a couple times last year.
Yeah.
And we didn't see any traction. We saw a little bit, but not enough to stay open, unfortunately.
Along the same route, right? That it's just people kind of like once they're done with class, they just kind of want to. Maybe they associate it with school, and it's just like, no, we're gonna go home and do our own thing.
Yeah, I mean, and some students go home too, right? If they're not from Kingston, if they're from Ottawa, Toronto, like as soon as Friday hits, and we noticed Friday past a certain time, 3 o'clock, it just dies right off, because you can see, especially along weekends, students go home, or they just, they hit the road and don't want to come back to school until Monday.
Yeah.
And do you guys advertise outside of the school at all to attract more of the public in, or do you guys focus directly on who's ever in the building?
Yeah, that's our main focus, is the people in our building. But we have done, spread the word outside. There is some offices like the KFLA The school board's right down the street as well. We tried to attract some of them, and we had last year we did see in the warmer months we saw some traction from them. But the only problem is you know, when it's cold out, you got to leave the office, you got to find a parking spot, you got to make it into the pub. By the time you do all that, it's about half an hour of your lunch gone, and then there's kind of no point, right? But we've definitely, in the warmer months, we definitely we see those outside groups come in for sure. Just not in the colder months, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So one last question from the YouTube channel, and kind of going back to COVID. What do you think the immediate future of the restaurant industry may look like?
You know what? I think about that every day. I think when the new normal hits, I think it's going to be slow. People are going to be extremely cautious, but I think it will just rebound right back to the way it was in time. Obviously not right away, but I think I've been seeing in the last couple of weeks that people are getting antsy. And once everything kind of passes, people are going to want to go out and do what they were doing before, right? I do think for this next year, the restaurant industry is going to take a huge hit, and we're not going to see some of these businesses coming back. It's going to take time, but I do see it coming back close to normal, or at least the new normal, which will be interesting to see once this all opens up. If restaurants will, you know, take away tables, so there's the, you know, social distancing is strongly enforced. If I've heard talks of, you know, servers are going to wear face masks, and the hosts are going to be wearing face masks and all that fun stuff. But I think it will come back to normal eventually, but I think it's going to take some time, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it will be. That's sort of what's always piqued my curiosity is the aftermath of like the effect that's going forward. You know, once we're allowed to go back, like what's going to happen? What are the big changes in the world that we're going to see? And maybe in grocery stores, you know, every protocol that's happening right now, maybe that carries forward for a very long time.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting. I mean, there's some good things coming out of this. I mean, we do Walmart pickup orders now, which I used to just love going to the grocery store. We used to, you know, I do groceries every single day. We were the type of people that get off work and I'd go to the grocery store and pick something up for dinner. So for the first month, it was driving me bananas not being able to go to the grocery store. But, you know, we created a system where we have a weekly Walmart order that we just go pick up, and it's super convenient. And it just makes you wonder if that's going to be the new normal once this is all said and done.
Well, you know what's funny is that like when I go to the store, like especially like Walmart, Loblaws, they have those order online and then come pick up, and I always see them, and it's like, man, that's like I kind of want to do that, you know. It's like like if I don't want to go shopping one day, you know, like, and now it's kind of forced me in a way to kind of start doing that. I wasn't a big online shopper either because I like seeing and feeling and touching everything that I'm buying, but now it's like my cardboard recycling is like to the brim because I order so much online now, you know, and I order so everything is just comes to my door now.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild how things have changed in, you know, a matter of a couple months. Like it's like I said, it's gonna be super interesting to see if everything goes back to normal in that sense, or if this is just gonna be the new norm of, you know, online shopping was huge before this, but I mean, grocery shopping online, it's good for now for me, but like I miss going into the grocery stores and just, yeah, like you said, touching, feeling, looking. Like I like to pick out my own produce and, you know, that kind of stuff, but relying on somebody else to do it for you is kind of not the ideal situation. But
especially not produce, you know, because it's like you got to get the ripe ones, you know.
Exactly. Like we have pears just sitting on a windowsill that's been there for like a week because they're just not ready and not even close to being ready. But whatever, you know, we're it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but you know what? At least I ain't got the Rona.
Exactly. Could be worse.
So Chris, first thing you're gonna do when this is all over, like what are you looking forward to the most when the government can say, okay, you can come out of quarantine?
I think I'm just, you know, we're big family and friends people. Or you know what? Actually, saying that, I want to go fishing with my my father-in-law, which is kind of crazy that, you know, it's every day him and I talk about it. I'm like, all right, are you allowed putting the boat in? Like, no, we're not allowed yet, this, that. So I don't know, just saying that you can't go fishing on the boat is, really, it's getting me antsy, especially this time of the year when the nice weather comes.
Yeah.
Or, just being with friends too, family, like my mom and all my family's in Ottawa. So we haven't seen them in months. And I think, seeing family and friends are the top of my list.
Yeah.
And do you do the Zoom check-ins with your family and friends?
You know what? We did it for Easter, and it was a bit chaotic because my wife has a big family and I have a big family. So
Yeah.
there was about 10, 15 people trying to get on the line, and then there's people that aren't the greatest with that kind of stuff. And we got a lot of close-ups to the older people who were just holding the phones right to their face. And
Yeah.
so it was interesting. We did it for Easter, and then we said we were going to do it once a week with everyone, and that kind of stopped right after Easter because it was just too chaotic. But yeah, we dabbled in it a little bit.
Yeah, and it's just not the same, right? Like it's great to connect. Like it's probably the best thing that we could do. Obviously, it's great that we have the technology today, but it's obviously, there's something, it makes you miss your friends sometimes even more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And there's only so much you can talk about now, right? With your family.
Yeah.
It's like, so what'd you do today? Same thing you did yesterday? Yep. All right.
Well, it's hard too because like if you're in a group of 5 people and you're all at home, then these 2 people are over here, these 3 people are over there, and then maybe the 5 of you talk at one point, and there's different conversations going on, but you're all there.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
with Zoom, everyone's in the same conversation. And you have to wait your turn to talk. And it's like, somebody says something and then it's like, oh, and then you can't say something. And then it's just like, the Zoom thing is tough.
Oh yeah. Our little guy kept stealing the phone off of us. So that was challenging too, because he'd just run into the bathroom and lock the door and start talking to everyone. And then he wouldn't shut up. So then it was like, all right, well, he's having fun and he's quiet-ish. So we'll just let him be.
He's not bothering us.
Exactly.
You can go ahead and do what you need
We'll
to
let
do.
him bother everyone else.
Yeah.
Everyone
Everyone else thinks it's cute. By this point, I'm already tired.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Well, I think we've hit the half-hour mark. But Chris, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
And so how can people reach you?
I can be reached at the best spot is my email. So it's pubmanager@sl.on.ca. And yeah, you guys, anyone can, contact me about bookings or if they just want, an update on what we're doing in the pub and what, anything really.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we really look forward to, having the pub back and having everything back to normal. And yeah, we can't wait to come into the pub one more time.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. I got to come back after I fake graduate.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are more than welcome back to the pub anytime.
Nice. I love night.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Chris. And we hope you have a great day, man.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.
You too.
And thanks everybody for tuning in.